rocking my G-Shock. I'm 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 rocking my G-Shock.
What's up, YouTube? I've had a lot of people ask me this question, and I myself in the past have wondered which one is better, the solar powered watch versus the non-solar powered watch. So this one here, I'm going to do a comparison between the two watches and kind of give you an idea of which one might be ideal for you. In some cases, you may not know or realize that, in fact, the quartz non-solar watch may be a better option for you depending on your needs. So let's talk about the differences between the two, the pros and cons, and why I personally think that solar may not always be the best way for all watch buyers. So first, let's talk about the solar watch. What are some of the pros of having that solar powered watch? Well, the good news is that solar powered watches batteries last much longer than that of the non-solar watches. And yes, there is a solar cell or a battery, I would say, inside the solar watch. So some of them people are under the misconception that solar watches don't have batteries. In fact, they do. They have a solar cell, but they charge differently. A standard solar or non-solar battery watch has a battery that runs out of power, and that's it, you throw it away. With the solar power watch, that cell gets charged by the solar panel within the watch that then the solar cell maintains a charge off and on as it discharges against power by solar power and lasts much longer. For instance, the solar watch battery can last between around 20 years, 10 to 20 years, depending on how you treat it. Abusing the solar power by not charging it or charging it too often or too much heat will abuse the battery solar cell and could damage it, and therefore you'll need replacing it. This one, on the other hand, can only last about 2 to 6 years in comparison, so you'll be using the battery or replacing the battery more often than not. But with that comes some of the cons. Some countries, for example, don't get a lot of sun. Some places like Ireland, the UK, Denmark, and some places like India in the summertime where it rains so much, it makes it difficult to charge your watch very often. So when you want the watch to use, it's very difficult to come just put it on and ready to run and go because there's not enough sun to charge the battery. So in those cases, non-solar watches may be ideal for you. You don't have to worry about the sun or any other artificial lighting to charge your watch. You just throw it on. If the battery dies, swap out the battery and move on. Now, there's another case. The solar power watches usually have more technology. In this case, the solar power watch has multi-band 6 and it's tough solar. A lot of the other watches, for example, like the Frogman, which is also solar powered, the GWG-1000, which has quad sensors, multi-band 6, barometer, thermometer, altimeter, and some other cool technology. Those require solar power because they exhaust more energy. A quartz or just a regular battery would die faster without the solar power, and therefore would require battery changes too frequently. Therefore, you need a solar power watch that could maintain the energy that's required to operate the watch in all its necessary functions. So with that being said, most watches with more features will most likely only have solar powered. Now there is one example, the GGB100, for example, that's has a lot of sensors, but it's not solar powered. A lot of people do complain that watch runs out of battery too fast. Another example is the GG1000 Mudmaster, which also has twin sensor, compass, and thermometer. But once again, people complain that this watch does die really fast. Now this watch has two batteries in there to help with that problem, to alleviate that problem. But still, it runs out of battery pretty fast, and that I believe is attributed to not being solar powered. So with that being said, the solar powered, for example, multi-band 6 is low maintenance because You just set it and forget it. The multiband 6 will set itself every night to keep accurate time, and you don't have to worry so much about the battery because it's solar powered, and you get the functionality that you desire with accurate timekeeping versus that of the non-solar watch, which will lose some time or maybe be inaccurate by a few seconds, few minutes, probably even hours, depending on the range of time that you use it. So that's one thing to kind of factor in, that the multiband 6 is in fact more accurate than the non-solar watch because of that necessary and additional function like multiband 6. One thing people don't realize is that not everyone wears a watch in a traditional manner. I myself wear my watch on my left hand over my wrist like so, and this will expose the watch to the sun as I wear it, either hanging out the window while I drive, daily functions, being exposed just by being upright on my hand. But unfortunately, not everyone wears this watch. So if you're one of those people who wears the watch inside your wrist, and yes, believe it or not, there's a lot of people who wear their watches like this. Now, with that being said, as you wear your watch, and of course I drop something because I always do and it's not intentional. If you wear your watch like this, usually it's gonna be facing your body or facing down as you walk or as you do daily day-to-day activities, then the watch will not be exposed to the watch as it's intended to do so. Wearing the watch upright like that will get more sun than wearing the watch downright like this. So if you are wearing the watch down like this on your wrist, I would not recommend the solar power watches unless you have an alternate method of charging your watches, such as some kind of slow charging artificial lighting, which I truly don't recommend. A lot of people use those. If that's your only method and you don't get a lot of sun in your country, then yes, by all means, use that alternate method. But ideally, you want the sun. The sun cannot be replaced, and it cannot charge your watch faster than any other artificial method. Now, another thing about a con about wearing a battery operated watch is that a lot of people are eco-friendly. Now, like I said earlier, this watch battery would only last you about 2 to 6 years, which means you're using more solar cells, or not solar cells, more batteries than you would with this watch. So you could think about it, it's only 2 to 6 years, it's only one watch, but think about how many people would wear these type of watches across the world and how much we're adding to the garbage or disposal of batteries because of that particular reason. With the solar power watches, batteries last much longer, like I said, 10 to 20 years, even more depending on use. So therefore, we are contributing less to the waste of that kind of material because it needs less replacement. Then we come to our next point, one that we all have encountered. We've noticed it with watches that are released across Japan or watches that are released domestically. There's usually watches that are released in two versions, one in non-solar and one in solar power or solar version. So with that being said, one thing we notice is that the solar power watch is usually traditionally more expensive, right? So you have to factor that in when deciding which watch do I really want. Do I really need solar power and pay the extra money to do so for the extra technology? In some cases, yes, you may need that, or you may want that. In some cases, also that watch becomes more demand. There's more demand for that watch, so it appreciates in value. Although, if you want to save some money, go with the non-solar watch. That watch usually is cheaper than the solar power watch, and it'll save you some money. And if you use it and don't care about changing the battery regularly, then that may be the option for you. So factor that in your decision making between one or two watches. The solar power multi-band 6 watches will cost you more money. Now, here's my last point, and one that really applies to me. This may not be a problem for a lot of you guys, but a lot of collectors out there that you guys, believe it or not, they have a massive collection of G-Shock watches, or maybe other watches that are not G-Shocks that are also solar powered. In my case, I have a lot of watches, guys, and a lot of those are solar powered. In some cases, I'll think about it like, hey, I have for example, red watch that will go great with my outfit. Let me go put it on. Well, sadly, I don't keep track of those watches as good as I should, and I don't charge them as well or as routinely as I should. And therefore, when I want to wear the watches, they're dead. They have not been charged. And that's something that a lot of people have to take into consideration. Do you or are you willing to manage those watches to make sure they are, one, charged regularly to protect the battery, two, are charged in a manner that they'll be readily available for when you need them. Here's my example for show you guys. Here's my watches. The battery operated watches are fine, but for example, I love my Riseman watches. Here they are, right? I have a large collection of Riseman watches, and I love wearing my Rescue Red, for example, or my orange when it comes to my sports team, the Chicago Bears. And every time I decide I want to wear that watch, what's the problem? Look at that. Here's a multi-band 6 that's kept this charged for a long time, maybe because of power safe mode. But look at these. Dead, 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 and dead. Right? Meanwhile, the non-solar watches are ready to rock and roll. Well, some have died, some older ones. Here's some more Riseman, also dead, dead. This one is quartz powered, battery powered. Those are ready to go, rock and roll, right? So if you have a collection of watches, it may be more difficult for you to charge your watches regularly, right? Unless you're good at managing that stuff. See, these are all older watches, collectible watches that still are ready to go. Solar powered, dead. This one is good, solar powered, but that one's solar powered, dead, dead. So that's the problem. Make sure you factor that in, solar power, dead. When making the decision, will I have a lot of watches, and am I able to charge these watches regularly and manage what it takes to put these out to charge regularly so that one, the battery does not die, and two, they're ready for me to wear whenever I need to. Here's the multi-band 6 watch or solar powered watch. Not operable, right? We expose it to the sun, directly to the sunlight, and right away it comes back to life. Of course, that's not going to power the watch very long. If I try to use any of the functions here, you'll see the watch will turn off. There's not enough juice in there. All right, guys, hopefully that helps you in deciding which watch is best for you, the solar power watch or the non-solar power watch. So that depends mostly on your needs and your lifestyle and also where you live. Like I said, a lot of places don't get a lot of sun, they get a lot of rain. In the United States, for example, Seattle, places like Seattle don't get they don't get a lot of sun, they get a lot of rain. So that'd be one place where I would think wouldn't be ideal to have a solar watch. Places like the UK where they get a lot of they get a lot of cloudy days, may not be ideal for you guys, but that's all up to you. You decide where you live. You decide if you get a lot of sun, if you're willing to manage it and kind of keep track of the sun to make sure that you're charging your watches. Now, just to cover all my bases, there's also an alternative. There's a solar, non-solar, and then there's also this one here. Now, if you're one of those people who have a large, robust wrist and can manage the Range Master or the Rangeman GPRB 1000, now this be maybe an ideal option for you. One, it's solar powered, but you can also charge the watch with the available included charger. So if you want to watch that solar, but you're afraid that you may not have enough sun or you don't want to deal with artificial lighting, then you could charge this watch at night much faster than solar power, and it's more reliable because it has all the sensors that you would love with the technology that you would love without having to deal with the battery issue. So you have all the positives, available, solar powered, all the functions, and you still have reliability because of the included charger. So there you have it. All right, guys, that does come with a price though. Just be mindful of that. Those watches are quite pricey and they are robust, like I said. So if you have small wrists like myself, you might consider an alternative. All right, guys, hopefully that helped you guys. Please let me know, what do you guys think? Do you prefer a solar power watch? Are you okay with just a battery operated watch? And does that factor in? Is there anything else I missed that are pros or cons between one or the other watches? Please add that to the comments. And thanks so much for watching. If this was helpful by any means, entertaining, useful, please smash that like button for me. I would truly appreciate it. I track that stuff wholeheartedly and it motivates me to produce more videos. And thanks so much. Till next time, this is Chicago. I'll see you guys very soon. I'm out of here. Which one? This one. This one. Solar. I'm out of here. Peace.
I'm rocking my G-Shock. I'm rocking my G-Shock. I'm rocking my G-Shock. I'm rocking my G-Shock. I'm rocking